Imagine stepping back in time where the echoes of cannons reverberate through the fields and the fate of a nation hangs in the balance. Welcome to another episode of Moments in History, where we cover your favorite parts of history. And today, we're diving into a chapter that shaped America's destiny, the American Civil War, and explore the causes and consequences that unfolded during this turbulent period. But before we begin, question yourself, what event ultimately led to the turning point in the American Civil War? The answer lies ahead, so make sure to stick around until the end of the video. So, without further ado, let's travel back in time to unravel the mysteries surrounding the American Civil War, its causes, and the profound impact it had on our nation's history. Before moving right into the causes and consequences of the American Civil War, let's take a moment to delve into the fascinating world of civil wars. Civil wars have a rich history, spanning from ancient times to mythical tales. Throughout human history, conflicts between fellow humans have always been a part of our narratives. In ancient times, civil wars were not uncommon, as empires and kingdoms found themselves torn apart by power struggles and disagreements. From the mighty Roman Empire to the warring Greek city-states, these conflicts reshaped history. Even in mythical stories, tales of civil wars emerge as gods clash over power and authority. These stories, while fictional, reflect the enduring theme of internal strife. Now, let's bring our focus back to the American Civil War, a defining moment in U.S. history. It was a war fought on American soil, pitting brother against brother as northern and southern states engaged in a bitter struggle. It was more than a clash of weapons. It was a battle of ideologies and deeply rooted issues. Economic disparities played a significant role, with the industrialized North contrasting sharply with the agrarian South. The North embraced progress and urbanization, while the South clung to its agricultural roots. Slavery emerged as a central issue, tearing at the nation's fabric. The northern states had moved away from the practice, viewing it as morally abhorrent, while the South relied on enslaved labor for its plantation-based economy. The concept of states' rights added fuel to the tensions. The southern states sought to protect their autonomy and resist encroachments by the federal government, while the North emphasized a strong central government for unity and national concerns. Political discord over the expansion of slavery further exacerbated the situation. Efforts to find compromises failed, leading to hostilities. Now, with a general understanding of civil wars and the American Civil War, let's delve into the specific causes and consequences that shaped this turbulent chapter in U.S. history. Causes. Economic differences. As we explore the causes of the American Civil War, one significant factor that cannot be ignored is the stark economic differences between the northern and southern states. The North had undergone rapid industrialization, with bustling cities, factories, and growing urban society. This economic shift brought forth innovations, technological advancements, and a burgeoning middle class. On the other hand, the South remained primarily agrarian, relying heavily on large-scale plantation agriculture. The stark contrast between these two regions created economic disparities that fueled tension and discord. The North thrived on manufacturing, trade, and commerce, embracing the possibilities brought forth by the Industrial Revolution. Meanwhile, the South's economy was deeply entwined with the institution of slavery, with vast plantations producing cash crops such as cotton, tobacco, and rice. These economic disparities not only affected the wealth and prosperity of each region, but also shaped their social and political structures. The northern states became advocates for a strong central government that could regulate trade, establish protective tariffs, and promote infrastructure development to support their industrial endeavors. In contrast, the southern states feared that a powerful federal government would undermine their agrarian way of life and infringe upon their states' rights. The economic divide, combined with differing visions of the nation's future, created a fertile ground for conflict. The North's embrace of progress and industrialization clashed with the South's desire to maintain its agrarian society, setting the stage for the clash that would engulf the nation. Slavery, It is impossible to discuss the causes of the American Civil War without delving into the deeply rooted issue of slavery. Slavery had long been a contentious topic in America, with opposing views held by the North and the South. Northern states had gradually shifted away from slavery, viewing it as morally reprehensible and incompatible with the ideals of freedom and equality. The abolitionist movement gained traction, fueled by the growing belief that all individuals, regardless of race, deserved basic human rights. In stark contrast, the southern states heavily relied on enslaved labor to sustain their agrarian way of life. Slavery was deeply embedded in their economic, social, and cultural fabric. The plantation owners saw their economic prosperity and social status intricately tied to the institution of slavery. The issue of slavery became a deeply divisive fault line between the North and the South, further fueling the flames of conflict. It was not simply a matter of differing opinions, but a fundamental clash of values and moral principles. The question of whether individuals should be owned as property or granted freedom and equality tore at the very soul of the nation. Political discord and sectionalism. Amidst the mounting tensions that led to the American Civil War, political discord and sectionalism played a pivotal role in widening the divide between the North and the South. As the nation expanded westward, the question of whether new territories would allow or prohibit slavery intensified. Both sides saw the potential influence of these new states on the balance of power in Congress. Political parties formed along regional lines, with the Republican Party gaining prominence in the North, advocating for the containment of slavery. Meanwhile, the Democratic Party, with strong Southern support, fought to protect states' rights and the institution of slavery. The political landscape became deeply polarized, with each side fiercely defending its interests and ideology. Compromises, such as the Missouri Compromise and the Compromise of 1850, temporarily eased tensions, but the underlying issues remained unresolved. The political discord and sectionalism that permeated the nation exacerbated the existing fractures and laid the groundwork for the conflict that would soon engulf the nation. Failure of compromises. Throughout the years leading up to the American Civil War, attempts to compromise were made to prevent the eruption of a full-scale conflict. However, these compromises ultimately failed to address the deep-rooted issues tearing the nation apart. The Missouri Compromise of 1820, which aimed to maintain a balance between free and slave states, was initially successful. But as the nation continued to expand, the admission of new territories reignited the slavery debate. The Compromise of 1850, designed to settle conflicts arising from the Mexican-American War, included provisions such as the Fugitive Slave Act and popular sovereignty. Yet, these measures only heightened tensions and polarized the North and the South further. The Kansas-Nebraska Act of 1854, which allowed for popular sovereignty in determining whether a state would allow slavery, sparked violent clashes between pro-slavery and anti-slavery forces. These failures to find lasting compromises highlighted the irreconcilable differences between the two regions and demonstrated that a peaceful resolution to the growing crisis was becoming increasingly elusive. The breakdown of compromise efforts contributed significantly to the eventual outbreak of the American Civil War. Consequences: Emancipation Proclamation and the end of slavery. One of the most significant consequences of the American Civil War was the issuance of the Emancipation Proclamation and the eventual end of slavery. As the war progressed, President Abraham Lincoln recognized the importance of addressing the issue of slavery as a key factor in the conflict. In 1862, he issued the Emancipation Proclamation, declaring that all slaves in Confederate territory were to be set free. This historic document not only served as a moral statement against the institution of slavery, but also had significant practical implications. It encouraged enslaved individuals to escape to Union lines, further weakening the Southern economy and undermining the Confederate war effort. With the Union victory in the Civil War, and the subsequent ratification of the 13th Amendment to the United States Constitution in 1865, slavery was officially abolished, forever altering the fabric of American society. Reconstruction era and the transformation of the South. Another consequence of the American Civil War was the era of Reconstruction that followed. With the defeat of the Confederacy, the United States faced the immense task of rebuilding the South and integrating formerly enslaved individuals into society as free citizens. Reconstruction aimed to address the social, economic, and political challenges arising from the aftermath of the war. During this period, significant advancements were made, including the ratification of the 14th and 15th Amendments, which granted equal protection under the law and voting rights to African American men. However, Reconstruction also faced numerous obstacles and resistance from white supremacists who sought to maintain racial hierarchy and limit the rights of freed slaves. The Reconstruction era would shape the course of civil rights in America, laying the groundwork for future struggles and progress towards equality. Devastation and reconstruction of infrastructure. The American Civil War left a trail of devastation in its wake, with significant consequences for the nation's infrastructure. The war was fought on American soil, resulting in widespread destruction of roads, bridges, railroads, and cities. Both the Union and Confederate forces targeted strategic locations, leaving communities in ruins and disrupting vital transportation networks. As the war concluded, the daunting task of Reconstruction began. Efforts were made to rebuild and repair the damaged infrastructure, facilitating the restoration of trade, commerce, and communication. The era of Reconstruction saw the implementation of ambitious projects, such as the construction of the Transcontinental Railroad, which aimed to reconnect the nation and stimulate economic growth. However, the process was arduous and time-consuming, requiring extensive resources and the mobilization of labor. The consequences of the war's infrastructure devastation and subsequent reconstruction efforts had a lasting impact on the nation's development and marked a turning point in the modernization of America. Redefinition of federal power and state relations. The American Civil War had a profound impact on the balance of power between the federal government and the states, leading to a redefinition of their relationship. Prior to the war, there was a significant emphasis on states' rights and a limited role for the federal government. However, the conflict brought about a shift in perspective. The Union's victory established the supremacy of the federal government and solidified the idea of a unified nation. The outcome of the war reinforced the notion that the federal government had the authority to enforce its laws and ensure the preservation of the Union. The 14th Amendment, enacted during the Reconstruction era, further strengthened federal power by guaranteeing equal protection under the law for all citizens. This redefinition of federal power and state relations would have far-reaching consequences, shaping the future trajectory of American governance and influencing the interpretation of the Constitution. Well, that brings us to the end of this video. Make sure to leave your thoughts and theories in the comments. If you have any confusion, feel free to question us as well. If you watched till the end of this video, then you probably enjoyed it, so you might as well slap a like on this video to encourage us. Make sure to subscribe and stay tuned for more content.